What's up, guys? This is Coach Gaglione here. This is another edition of the Powerlifting for the People podcast. We got my man Garrison here today. How you doing, brother?
What's good, Coach? Man.
All right. So if you guys are kind of following us on social a little bit, so Garrison was part of our first ever powerlifting camp, which we're really excited to host. So we got some different episodes coming out. We interviewed Caitlin Brown so far. We interviewed Mary, who's the high performance manager for the United States team for powerlifting. So if you haven't checked out those episodes, I would definitely check out those episodes as well. We'll include some links in the description, and we'll also include some links if you are maybe in a situation like Garrison, which we'll talk about. If you're interested in getting involved in powerlifting, maybe you have some sort of limitation in your lower body and you may qualify to compete in some of those events. We're going to include some of the links in the description below if you guys want to learn more about it. And maybe if you're just someone like myself, wants to get involved in the coaching aspect of it, or volunteering, spotting, loading for the events. Like I kind of mentioned in some previous episodes, I think the powerlifting is something that is kind of new to me, even though I've been involved in powerlifting for over 12 years. This is one kind of offshoot of powerlifting that I have not really ventured into yet. And when it comes to powerlifting for the people, the whole point of powerlifting for the people is about that powerlifting and strength training, resistance training really can be scalable. Anyone can kind of do some form of strength training. And I think no matter like what limitations you may have, what disabilities you may have, what injuries you may have, maybe you can't squat but you could bench, maybe you can't bench but you could deadlift, etc. There's always something you could do. There's always some way you can get stronger, and everyone possesses the ability to get stronger. And there's going to be benefits no matter what your goal. Which I think that's why we have Garrison on the podcast today. So for people who don't know who you are, just really quick, brief background of who you are and what you got going on right now.
Okay, yeah, my name is Garrison Rad. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I did a TED Talk. I'm a motivational speaker. Also, I'm a trainer for the Paraolympics. Also, I do tons of other things. I'm the founder of the Garrison Red Project, which is a nonprofit organization that I set up to just give back to individuals, especially children with disabilities, to provide them with assistive equipment just to get through daily lives and an opportunity, and give them that opportunity to achieve success. I graduated with my bachelor's of finance, and I'll tell you how I got started kind of. At 17, I was a standout football player, good kid, going to school. And then on a random summer night, I'm outside in the neighborhood and they start shooting, and I get shot with a straight bullet right across the street from my house. However, I never let that discourage me. From there, I went on to college like every other, teenager, just like everybody else. College was fine. I got my bachelor's in finance. And then I just started observing things. I found out that there was like different adaptive sports that I could participate in. But with me, I'm one of those individuals where,
I want to just pause for a second because there's a lot. I don't want you to rush through it because I think it's a great story. So, what was kind of going through your mind when you got shot, and what was that feeling like, and what was kind of going through your head like when it actually happened?
See, the thing was, I was a standout football player for James Madison High School. At the time, I was sixth in the city in Russian, going into my senior year of high school. So, when a catastrophic injury of that nature happens to you, you get discouraged. But I never really got depressed because this wise doctor told me and said, you don't have to be the player, you could be the coach. So
that gave me a different outlet, different way.
And I thought about
be
that.
Part of it,
Yeah, like you still could be a part of it. And she's like, basically everybody points the finger at their coach and they don't point the finger at the player. So I said, I thought about it. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. However, I didn't get into sports right away though. Like I just felt that I first let me get control of my injury because I'm a paraplegic, so I'm paralyzed from the waist down. The T12 section of my spine is what was injured. The bullet burnt the nerves. So I do have somewhat function within my lower extremities as far as like hip movement. However, not too much.
Yeah.
But I can like walk with bracing and a walker, crutches. However, I have strong uppers. So I started building my uppers, and from building my uppers, I just started liking my physique. Even though in the hospital I was bench pressing 315 prior to my injury, and that was at 16. And I lost all of that strength, so it's always been like
start over and kind of rebuild.
Yeah, it's like with the water weight and all of those things, protein, it all atrophy.
Yeah.
So you're like, sheesh, all of that work for nothing. But it was for something. It was for something.
Yeah, and I think you've got a great outlook. It's one of the things I really admire about you is that you have a real positive outlook on your situation. If maybe they're not in your situation, but if someone was going through an injury, or like if someone maybe pulls a muscle or tears something, lifting, what's some advice like to help someone through like an injury just from a mental perspective? Like how do you kind of change your outlook to view it as more of a positive, and how do you kind of move forward from that?
Well, it doesn't last forever. That's one thing. An injury doesn't last forever. Injury to me is a state of mind. And once you get out of that state of mind that you're injured, then you can excel still. And then you got to think about all the benefits of being in. There's benefits in being injured.
Yeah.
As far as say you tear your right bicep, so now you got to be more dependent on your left bicep or your left arm to do certain things, and that's going to actually build strength there. So it works other muscles that you don't necessarily think about.
I think that's a good point. I know I knock on wood, never really got hurt powerlifting. But I did have one injury doing some kettlebell stuff around the time I took about a year off from competing. When I opened up my business, it was a little over 7 years ago, and dislocated the shoulder. Just kind of bell got away from me, and I couldn't bench press for a long time. I couldn't do anything with that arm, but I just trained my left arm. I trained my lower body quite a bit, and then obviously I'm back, stronger than I was when I first injured myself. But you kind of turn a positive to a negative. One of our sports psychologists that we worked with in the past, he says, you can win or you learn. Don't think about winning and losing. Think about if you do have a setback, if you do get defeated, what can you learn from it? How can you move forward? How can you turn it into a positive? A lot of times when you kind of hit rock bottom, that's a real great time to start to, they say the only way to go is up, and you can start to kind of build from there. And sometimes you learn to appreciate the little things. You learn to be grateful for things maybe you weren't grateful for. So
exactly, that's the key with me. I seen my whole mindset change when I seen individuals learn how to brush their teeth that do not have use of their hands.
Yeah.
So when you think of it in that aspect,
you be fortunate for
you got to be grateful and fortunate that whatever abilities you have. Yeah, just like what you said.
Cool. So I want to talk about so you started. You obviously the recovery started with in between your ears.
Yeah.
You started like, okay, how can you weren't getting too down on yourself. You were starting to think about, focus on what you can do, not what you can't, and then kind of build on that. So now you're starting to get into fitness a little bit. Tell me a little bit about like getting into what kind of drew you to the gym? I know you were playing sports before, but what kind of allowed you to continue on like this fitness journey? I know that you've been really a big advocate of training your body.
Yeah. So
tell me a little bit more about that and how that journey started.
That came actually, I started doing research. I went to a doctor's appointment. They was like, what you do to stay physically fit? I'm like, I don't do anything too crazy. I got a bench press in my house, so used to put 145 on a bar, do a couple of reps, and that was it. And then I started doing research and noticed that there's a lot of individuals that are disabled that are suffering from issues like obesity. I think the obesity rate currently is twice the amount of an able-bodied individual.
Crazy.
So then I realized, you know what, maybe if I start a movement by going to the gym, and for myself, I didn't want to I was gaining a little bit of weight, but I didn't want to get, out of shape, and I wanted to remain healthy because there's other issues such as like cholesterol and high blood pressure that can onset as well. So I was like, let me go to the gym, play around there. So I started at one gym, and I didn't like it because it didn't give me that feel from when I played football.
Yeah, you want kind of that more community.
Yeah, community-based, but
team vibe, or
I wanted real weights. So
it's just the environment, the atmosphere.
Yeah, I like being around weightlifters that's gonna challenge you.
Yeah.
Get the bar up and yell at you.
Get inspired a little bit.
And me being in the chair, I know that there's a lot of individuals that are a little bit intimidated of pushing me, but I'm that type of person. Like, if you don't push me, I'm gonna outshine you. I don't want to outshine. I don't want to do that to you. Necessarily. I want you to achieve your maximum potential. I want everybody to. So that's where I went to another gym and I felt a little more comfortable. That's where I met Otis at.
Shout out to BTC.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Podcast guest and our good friend, Black Tom Cruise. But yeah, sure. So you started getting into lifting, you started getting into fitness. I know that you did a powerlifting meet. So what made you decide that you wanted to kind of get into competing? And I know now we're on this journey of getting into powerlifting. But what made you decide that you wanted to be do a competition and kind of get ready for that.
So let me tell you, it was kind of crazy, like how you manifest things. So about a year ago, I'm like, you know what? To really impact individuals, to show a journey, you got to show like you came from nothing and how you made it somewhere.
Sure.
So I started in the park doing calisthenics. I was just working out doing calisthenics, and then
so like pull-ups, push-ups, things like that.
Chin-ups.
Yeah.
Then it's funny, I started going to the gym, and this is the point where I'm going to the gym now, about 3 months in, and I meet an individual, and he's really big in the New York City disabled community. So he informs me like, yo, I see the weight you pushing. You got to come out and play on my football team. So I'm like, at this point now, I'm starting to do a little modeling. I'm like, I don't think falling on the floor is a good idea, really. Like, for model, it's like, stop being a wuss, come out. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna come out. And I meet this guy, he's like the president of Wheelchair Sports Federation. He's like, yo, you have to compete. I see like you could make it to, the the Paraolympics or something along those lines. You can make it really far. So I'm like, this is right up my alley. So I'm like, if you're certain about this, then I'm all in. Like, that's the type of person I am. Like, if you're certain and you feel like you see potential in me, then I'm gonna give you 110%, because that's how I am. I know like it's an opportunity. You can't, miss out on the opportunity. So he hooked me up with a shot put coach in an armory, and he's like, yo, just go here once a week and work on shot put and field sports. Because I was like, I don't really want to do basketball or rugby because it's too physical. I'm gonna fall on the floor. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I'm like, all right, not knocking those guys. Those guys are incredible athletes. So I'm doing shot put, and the coach wasn't real reliable. Like, I would go to practice and he's not there. So I'm like,
yeah, that's a bummer. That's a motivation killer for sure. Yeah.
So then I hit the guy back. I'm like, man, like, how are you gonna set me up with an individual that's not really into this? And he's like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna put you on like the best track team in the tri-state area. Come to find out, it's like the best track team in the nation. And he's like, yo, if you really want to powerlift, you just, stay consistent and come into practice and show your dedication, basically, and we'll help you get to, where you need to be, where you can compete and be in front of people. And from there, like 3 months in, I go to a powerlifting meet, and this is the first time I was ever strapped in. Sorry, Mary. Like, I knew nothing about being strapped in. I was lifting regular, like an able body for the longest, and there I put up like 245 pounds, easy. It was no problem. But it was all fouls the first lift, because I just took off the bar.
No commands and anything. Yeah.
So that was right there in like a 4-month time span of me saying I want to, be a Paralympian, just by when the individuals spoke to me about, if you really into this and you want to be dedicated, it just came about. And then I think I ran into you on Instagram. I seen you training Larry Wills. I'm like, oh, this guy would be great. It'll be a whole great thing. And then come to find out, the first camp was here, like the first, the lecture on how to get on the path to the Paralympics.
Yeah, it's cool. And a couple of key points I want to kind of harp on. I think if you're maybe someone is looking to get into coaching and a coach watching, I think it is important that you kind of practice what you preach, and also like if you expect your athletes to be dedicated, your athletes to be motivated and be consistent, you kind of have to have those same values too. It's one of the reasons why we have some like these values kind of up in these power words on our wall as a reminder of things that we kind of hold high value to, and things like consistency and work ethic and teamwork and all these things are so important. And just like obviously consistency, like you got to show up, you got to be there. And if you want to be consistency in the long haul is always going to be an intensity. So like you can work out hard for one day, but that's not going to really do you any good. Exactly. You got to show up time and time again. And I think that's a really good point, whether you're an athlete or a coach. The consistency is so important. And there's going to be days where you wake up and, like this past week was really tough for me. I was feeling run down. I have a lot of stuff going on. But you still got to show up. And if you have 60% in your gas tank, then just give that 60%. Just do what you can for the day. I think those are like really good points. So maybe talk to us a little bit about like, just some of the, I guess, modifications and things that you do just to kind of get around. Obviously, you seem really self-sufficient, but what are some things that you've kind of, I guess, maybe some obstacles that you've had to kind of overcome to kind of improve your fitness and just getting up and down from the bench and things like that, and some exercise, modifications that you got to make just to kind of.
The best thing is safety. Safety is first. So, without the ability to use your lower extremities, it becomes really imperative that you pay attention to exactly what exercises you are doing and how you are doing them. Like with me, as far as like the jerk and clean, I had to modify that to, and also like I had to use like a lat pad, or you use different machines, like a squat machine. You could probably rack it depending on the setup of it. However, you got to be very cautious of your shoulders and tearing something, or because you use your shoulders all day, every day.
Yeah, it's different. It's a lot. You're constantly loading yourself, or if you're on crutches or whatever. So you got to be careful for overuse injuries and things like that. If you're, so I think that's a really good point too. That maybe people don't think about, whether you're working with somebody with a condition like yourself, or you are somebody with similar condition.
And then you got to gradually build up. I tell everybody to gradually build up. Don't just because you feel strong today and you're accustomed to lifting.
Take your time.
Yeah, you're accustomed to lifting like say 225 pounds. Don't just jump to 275 and think you could do 4 or 5 reps.
Yeah. Small progression over time.
Yeah, and that's how I think one of the main keys. How knock on wood, I stayed injury free. I want to knock like you as well because I gradually progressed. Like I actually put in time, like every day, dedicated, just going to the gym and working different muscle groups, not the same muscle group over and over. So like one day it's back, one day it's chest, one day it's triceps, one day it could be biceps, one day it could be cardio. But it's like gradual progression, because that's very key. And like when individuals ask me, do I have any advice for them? And I usually tell them the main key is don't outdo yourself. Don't look at the guy in the gym that's lifting 300 and think you could do 300.
We always say kind of stay in your lane. And it's good to get inspiration from these people. It's good to get, you mentioned like Larry Williams. Like it's great to get inspiration from guys like that. But just realize that we're not him. I'm not him. You're not him.
I'm not him. Yeah.
And you have to kind of forge your own path and be okay with where you're at. So. Do you have any, if someone's maybe feeling a little down on themselves, or they feel like maybe they're not progressing in the way they want to, just what's some advice to kind of keep someone going when they're kind of feeling like they're in a rut or a plateau? Like, what's some things that you do to help yourself? Like,
like it plays in my head all day. Rome wasn't built in a day. Mm-hmm. Rome wasn't built in a day. And I think that's key, because if you think about it, it's going to take days, hours and hours. I think to be a master at something, you need to put in like 3,000 hours or something ridiculous.
Malcolm Gladwell has a 10,000 hour rule. Like, and it's really true, and it takes time. So one of the things that Mark Bell talks about, and I've kind of thought about this, and I kind of tend to agree, is like he has like the decade rule. So like to be really great at something, you're probably going to put in like 10 focused years on it. Yeah. And I've kind of noticed that with myself. Coaching and stuff, I'm like about 12 years into coaching and competing, and I feel like I'm starting to get like a little bit of a handle on it.
Exactly.
So like if you're like a couple of months in, and just realize that it's a long journey, don't be afraid to just like take your time with it. So I think that's really great. I love that Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah,
that's really, if you think about something like, you talk about like artwork and stuff, and if you look at like a sculpture, it just starts out with just like a block. But slowly, the way the artist is chipping away, over time, then you see the end result. It's this beautiful like work of art.
Exactly.
It started out with just this block and just little chips here and there, and then over time it makes a big difference.
Yeah, like individuals that's on like weight loss journeys, they the main individuals that typically reach out to me. And when they reach out to me, they're like, "Any advice you have?" And I'm like, the main advice I say is, don't set a mark. Like, you want to lose 50 pounds, just say you want to lose weight, and just don't put that pressure on yourself sometimes.
Yeah, so it's funny, one of the things we talked about, like I know you were at our seminar and stuff, and we talk about sometimes it's good to have like these big goals and to have a target, but also like don't be afraid to, especially if you're struggling, don't be afraid to set the bar low and just be like, I want to try and lose a pound, and then lose another, just keep
keep multiplying.
Just a little bit of, if you're lifting, like just adding another 5 pounds to the bar. It doesn't always have to be like a 25 or a whole plate. Or doing one more rep. Those micro progressions really add up over time. I know with myself, I've lost a lot of weight recently myself, and I'm maybe averaging a pound a week, if that. And there's sometimes several weeks where I don't lose weight or I gain a little bit, but just in the long haul, I'm making forward progress.
Exactly.
And I look at some of the pictures from like last year, and it's like, holy crap, I made a lot of progress. But sometimes week to week, you don't see like those gains. So, if someone's maybe like on the fence to competing, or maybe they're afraid to get to the gym, they're like a little hesitant on like where to start. What's some advice you can kind of give them?
Well, the gym is the best place to be, because the gym every gym should be a judgmental environment. So everybody in the gym is here for one thing, and that's to better themselves. And it's a community, it's a family. I know a lot of people typically, feel a little, worry about going to the gym. They're afraid of their appearance. But the gym is the place where you change your appearance as well. So I found that the gym embraces everybody. Whoever you are, there's an individual in that gym that will assist you with working on whatever your needs may be. I found with me, people come up to me all the time and just like, yo, need me to put the weights back for you, re-rack them for you. You want me to load the bar for you? Everybody in the gym is a community, is a family. They're gonna assist you. So it's one of the best safe havens for anybody.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. Like, talk about, I think people talk about karma and things like that. You want to give out, and not necessarily expect anything in return, but you will like get back what you what you put out in the universe. And I really believe that. And it's one of the reasons why we try to do a lot of good. We try and do some charity events. We try to put out a lot of free content, help as many people as we can. Obviously, we got to pay the bills. We got to do stuff.
Keep the lights on.
But we really try to. And like you said, I love what you said before. Is that you're not just doing this for yourself. You want to make an impact because you know that there's people out there that are maybe in a situation like yourself. Maybe they're a young kid and maybe they don't have a lot of hope, and maybe they are dealing with some depression or anxiety or a combination of all these things because of their injury or because of the limitations they have. But yeah, I think that if you could kind of achieve this high level or achieve this success, whether it be inside or outside the gym, it's going to help inspire others to kind of get started and just make their quality of life a little bit better and give them a little bit of hope just to take that next step and improve that quality.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I had the theory that I was going to chronicle it so they could see the journey. Like a lot of individuals, you see the end results, but you don't really see the snapshot. You don't see all the hard work they put in to get to where they're at. So that's why I said, what? Let me chronicle it. Let me speak it to existence first, and then go out and go after it. And that's what I'm currently doing.
And that's I really agree, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast a little bit more longer form. The YouTube's a little bit more longer form, especially on Instagram. We're all guilty of it. Like you just see this little snapshot it's the highlight reel. It's one day out of the course of maybe a decade of training, 2 decades of training, 2 decades of success. You see someone's jet, they're flying. You don't see like the journey that they took to get there. You see the 500-pound bench press or whatever it is, and sure, there are people that are fortunate. There are people that have better genetics and maybe were born into money and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's still for most people, they had to put in a lot of work and a lot of time. Especially the really, really successful people. It's not just about being lucky. So don't you have to believe that you're in control of your destiny, you're in control of your fate.
Exactly.
And then you just got to play whatever hand. We always say whatever hand you're dealt, you just got to play your cards the best way you can.
And good things come out from playing the cards. You never know. Never know.
Yeah. And if you just fold, then obviously you're going to lose every time. But you got to at least put your chips in and just see how it goes. So
I think Michael Jordan said you miss every shot you don't take. So
yeah. Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, who knows?
Yeah, all of them.
Somebody,
I'm sure one of them said it. Yeah.
It's like, it's all we say, it's like half facts. It's like, I think I heard this from so-and-so. But no, but it's really true. Like, don't be afraid to miss. And like we said before, if you do fall flat in your face, you can always learn from that experience. Don't be afraid to fail. I think there's a lot of salesmen that say, you want to chase the no. Don't be afraid of people saying no. Because eventually you're going to get a yes.
You're going to get immune to it too. After the no, you're just going to be like, oh.
But you have to keep trying. If you don't try, you never know kind of how far you can go. You got to like I said, you got to put your chips in and play the game. So I think that's really great advice. Obviously, we can keep talking, keep chatting, but you got to get your pump on.
Yeah, you got to get this work, man. We got to work. No days off.
So yeah, it's great having you, Garrison. If people do want to maybe they want to donate to your charity, maybe they want to check out what you're doing, where can people find you? And then we'll include some links
Okay,
in the description as
yeah,
well.
definitely.
So I love the charity. I think the charity is awesome. I think it's a great cause, and you know,
And they can check it out and everything, you know?
Yeah. So where can they find that?
Yeah, well, the GarrisonRedProject.org. Also, you can look me up on Facebook, Garrison Red. Also, Instagram. Instagram, it's the Garrison Red Project. I also have a personal Instagram, which I don't mind sharing, which is Big Money G with 2 Y's. That's, you know, the other image as well, just to be cool for the kids, the modeling and stuff, and the acting. So, yeah, you can reach out to me in multiple ways.
Very cool. So we're going to include links to the charity, all those links. Also, you want to check out Disabled Powerlifting. We'll include a link for that if you want to get involved in Parapowerlifting. We're excited to kind of see what Garrison can do, and you can follow along his journey. And hope, you know, like I said, we want to get him ready to, you know, make that world team little by little.
Coach G taking me to the next level right here. He's gonna be a very famous man off of this.
We're trying. Well, we're trying to make an impact, like you
exactly.
said.
We want to make an impact.
That's what we're doing. So we're great to have you. I know it's really inspiring to see, and I know sometimes we get down on ourselves, and I think a good way to kind of tie a bow in this podcast is just, you know, just be grateful for what you have. Focus on what you can do, not what you can't. I think you know, Garrison's a great example of that, and we could all learn a lot. So it's really inspiring. I'm excited to help him along his journey, just kind of play a hand in it. So make sure you give him a follow and check out those links below.
Check out everything. Yep.
If this podcast helped you, please give it a 5-star review. It helps other people find us. Please subscribe. And until next time, stay strong, and we'll see you soon.